Hello, my name is Lee Jae-jin. I'm a research fellow in people analytics at the University of Leeds in the UK. Today we have a prominent guest, David Green, one of the global leaders and influencers in the field of people analytics. I'm sure many of you recognize his name from various platforms such as the Digital HR Leaders podcast, the monthly collection of people analytics articles on LinkedIn, and My HR Future Academy, and many more. I genuinely enjoy listening to his podcast whenever I exercise on the treadmill. But anyway, I first met David in person in 2019 at a conference called PAFO. We met again post COVID-19 at the People Analytics World Conference in London just a few months ago. During our conversation, I introduced and shared the plans of this first People Analytics conference in Korea. For some reasons, our interaction today is virtual, but I'm very delighted to have a conversation with David through this session. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming him. Hi, David. How are you?
I'm very well, Jin. It's great to see you again, and very excited to be able to speak to the people analytics community in Korea today. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you so much for joining us. The last time we met was at the People Analytics World Conference in London. How have you been since then?
Very well, thanks. It's been a busy but exciting time since we met in London. The field of people analytics continues to attract a lot of attention and growth. And I'm really sorry I can't be with you in person today. I'm actually in Chicago with 40 of our clients at Insight222, where we've got a meeting hosted by McDonald's in Chicago about people analytics. So yeah, busy but hugely enjoyable.
Sounds like you've been very busy, but I imagine it's been a fantastic time. Probably many participants today have already heard about your name and your work, but could you introduce yourself for those who might be unfamiliar with you?
Yeah, certainly, Jin. I've worked in the field of HR for over 25 years and people analytics for the last 10, including some time at IBM, where I worked with Jonathan Farrar. And together with Jonathan and others, we founded Insight222 in 2017. It's a specialist firm dedicated to helping companies put people analytics at the center of business. I'm also the co-author with Jonathan of the book Excellence in People Analytics, which I know has been translated into Korean as the version I've got here. And as you mentioned earlier, I'm also the host of the Digital HR Leaders podcast.
Great. Today's interview includes a series of questions that Korean HR practitioners are curious about, but also I might delve into some sensitive questions from the perspective of Korean people analytics experts. Are you comfortable with that?
I'm ready, Jin. Please fire away.
All right. As far as I know, you've been hosting the Digital HR Leaders podcast since May 2019, so it's been over 4 years. Reflecting on your extensive interaction with over 100 people analytics experts, what current trends are you observing in people analytics?
Well, I think the first thing to say is now really is the time for HR and people analytics. In my 25 years in the field, I don't think there's ever been a more exciting or challenging time. CEOs, boards, investors, they understand that people are key to unlocking organizational success and achieving business goals. If you look at the major macro trends, whether it's the uncertain economic climate, the shift to hybrid work, rising employee expectations about work, the exponential advances in technology, or as in many countries, the demographic trends pointing towards a fall in the size of working populations. All of these are essentially people issues. And more importantly, they all require data and insights to support more informed and better decision making. And that's where people analytics comes in. Both from the podcast, but also the research that we do on an annual basis at Insight222. In fact, we're about to publish some research in 2 days on November the 1st. I think there's four key trends in people analytics that we're seeing at the moment. First is growth. People analytics continues to grow despite the challenging global economy. Over half of the 271 companies that participated in the study told us that their team had grown in the last 12 months. The second is around measuring and delivering value from people analytics efforts. It's key for the impact of the function. And the study digs into 4 areas of value. So improving business performance, improving workforce experiences or employee experience, driving an analytics culture across the organization, and creating broader societal benefits as well. The third trend is around influence, and by this we mean developing relationships with the C-suite and senior stakeholders. It's essential to deliver on business priorities. And in leading companies, we see that the people analytics meets with the CEO at least annually and the CFO at least quarterly, and at least 50% of their total work is focused on the most important business priorities in the company. And then the fourth trend is around impact. We've identified 8 characteristics that leading companies display to create impact. The report will go into these in details, but very quickly, the 8 are first, influencing the C-suite. Secondly, a significant portion of work is focused on the most important business priorities. Third, they leading companies invest in 3 key skills: people analytics consultants, data scientists, and behavioral scientists. Fourth, they have strong ethical standards for their work. Fifth, they measure the financial value from people analytics activities. Sixth, they democratize data to managers and executives across the enterprise. Seventh, they create personalized people analytics products for employees. And eighth, they're developing a data-driven culture for across HR and upskilling other HR professionals in data literacy. And actually, one of the case studies actually in the report is a Korean success story, LG Electronics, and it describes how Jason Ha, the people analytics leader, has focused much of the work of his team on identifying the people characteristics that are proven to improve sales performance within LG Electronics. And that's allowed LG to identify skill sets and competencies at detailed levels to support better recruitment and development of their sales team.
It's very good to hear that there is a Korean company involved in the report as a successful case study. I also remember that he introduced a people analytics project at LG a few years ago from another platform. In terms of the second point you mentioned, measuring and delivering value is key in people analytics that many individuals and companies are focused on. As I mentioned earlier, one of your crucial roles is to serve as a bridge between the numerous people analytics leaders and other stakeholders. Given your influential status, you've surely come across many global case studies. Could you share 1 or 2 of them, and why did those cases stand out?
Yeah, sure, Jin. And case studies are really helpful in exciting people about people analytics, particularly executives. So I'll share 2 of the case studies from Excellence in People Analytics. There are 30 in the book. But the reason for sharing them from the book is not only, I think, are they good case studies, but they also, if people want to dig into them further, they can do so by getting hold of the book. So the first example is from National Australia Bank, and it really highlights the potential business value of people analytics and the power of combining people data with other business data. And it also demonstrates the benefit of having a well-crafted hypothesis as a starting point. So that hypothesis, it came from a senior leader within the bank. And it was something that he believed that where you've got good leadership, high employee engagement, and the right team all working together in the branches of the bank, it drove high customer satisfaction at that local branch level. He wanted to test that with data. He came to the people analytics team. The people analytics team then brought together 10 years of data, both people data and business data, at a branch level, individual level, customer satisfaction scores, customer net promoter scores, sales results, revenue and income, along with a lot of people data, including engagement data going back 10 years. They found that in branches or bank branches with the highest employee engagement, the customer satisfaction was twice as high. And then when they dug in deeper to the analysis, they found that the key elements were highly engaged team, good leaders, and tenure in role. As well, and safety within the branch. And because they had longitudinal data, they were able to test for the direction of causality. They found that where a good leader is replaced by a bad one, engagement will start to fall, people will start to leave in the bank, in the branch, and the number of safety incidents would increase, and also the absence rates would increase of staff as well. And eventually this had a negative impact on customer satisfaction and revenues. They also found that the reverse was true. So where a good leader replaces a bad one, engagement starts to increase, retention starts to follow, absence improves, the number of safety incidents fall, and eventually this has a positive impact on customer satisfaction and branch revenues as well. And what the people analytics team was able to do is they were able to establish that engagement in National Australia Bank accounts for $1 billion Australian per annum of the bank's revenue. So very significant, got a lot of attention from senior leaders and more investment in the people programs that would help improve leadership quality and engagement. And the second example, again, it really highlights the business impact of people analytics. It's from Swarovski, but it also highlights the importance of securing a business sponsor for people analytics work and for elevating the outcome you want from just a people outcome to a business outcome. So the work was initially an HR-led project to understand first-year attrition in the UK retail business. The analysis identified a couple of factors related to the recruitment process and the timing of a post-probation pay increase that could reduce attrition. They calculated that this potentially could save around €300,000 a year if implemented properly, which is a nice number. It's not insignificant. But they managed to elevate the project because the head of people analytics managed to get time with the head of the UK retail business at Swarovski, presented the findings and saw if this was something that they could help her with. And what she said was that she thought the analysis was interesting, but she was more interested in understanding what the impact would be on store performance. She explained that she wanted to understand the employee factors that had the biggest impact on customer conversion rate, which is a key metric in retail, where basically the number of people that come into the store to the number of people that actually buy something. So the people analytics team widened the scope of their work. They tested some other hypotheses, and they wanted to look at the people factors that had the biggest impact on store performance. They identified 5 related to retention, so employee retention, scheduling, staff scheduling, attributes of the store manager, attributes of sales consultants, and training of new staff. They plotted all the UK retail stores on a graph to show retail sales on one axis and customer traffic on the other. And they found that there was a potential €40 million uplift per annum if stores implemented the programs related to those 5 people factors to improve conversion rate. The head of the UK retail at Swarovski was so impressed that she got the people analytics leader time with the board. And then subsequently, the work was rolled out to other key markets around the world. It really put people analytics on the map at Swarovski. It was quite a small team up to that point, and it highlighted to the C-suite and the board that how people analytics can make a big difference to their business.
Great talk. I'm aware that there are many other case studies beyond the 2 companies you mentioned, Swarovski and National Australia Bank. For those who the audience interested in learning more, I recommend David's and Jonathan Vella's book, Excellence in People Analytics. And as David mentioned, I think it's available in both English and Korean versions. While we often hear about companies successfully leveraging people analytics, it's easy to develop optimistic illusions. However, one size does not fit all. As you might know, that Alec Levinson from USC emphasized the importance of qualitative perspective in his talk in London last April. During People Analytics project, we often encounter this recurring question, why? Many people analysts find this challenging to answer. This is one of the reasons why I employed ethnography for my doctoral research, qualitative technique from anthropology, even though the analytics field typically revolves around the numbers and figures. In this regard, understanding a company's internal context to our peers is vital. What are your thoughts on this perspective, and what advice would you give to companies and professionals who are exclusively focused on benchmarking goals and case studies?
Xin, you highlight a really important point here. It can be helpful to compare your companies to others, the kind of benchmarking road, and you can also be inspired by what others are focused on. If you really want to maximize the importance, influence, and impact of people analytics in your own organization, you need to move beyond benchmarking and case studies and focus on the key business outcomes that you're trying to affect. And this is where, as you said, context comes in. So some of the questions that you're thinking are what are the key business objectives of your company? What are the most important challenges that your leaders are trying to solve? What are the people elements of those challenges? And then what are the business questions you can answer and the hypotheses you can test using analytics? these are all good starting points for analytics. By all means, be inspired by what others have done, but only try to apply it in your own organization if it's relevant to you. And when you get the insight, think to yourself, so what? What does it mean? And then now what? What should we do?
Yeah, I mean, the several points you mentioned, such as key business objectives, defining important challenges, and hypothesis and testing, these are, in my thoughts, very structured and insightful for understanding and deriving meaningful insights from case studies. Now let's shift our focus, considering the characteristics of the Korean market in each companies. I'd like to address the somewhat exclusive and competitive nature of Korean businesses. Absolutely, it's understandable that employee data must be managed very cautiously, but in related events like this conference, many Korean companies are keen to attend as audience, but reluctant to participate as speakers due to fears of revealing their strategies to their competitors. This intense competition might hinder the widespread of adoption and progressive evolution of people analytics in Korea. In contrast, at Western People Analytics conferences, I can see that competitors such as SAP and Workday or Deloitte and PwC readily set up their sponsor booth side by side. However, Korean companies are reluctant to join if their competitors are already listed as a conference sponsor. This phenomenon is sometimes can be seen in speaker presentations as well. What's your take on this?
That is an interesting phenomenon, Jin. I've got a couple of perspectives on that. One from a people analytics team perspective, and an organizational perspective, and the other from a technology consulting firm perspective. Let's take the first one from a people analytics team or the organization itself. I know, for example, that by sharing some of their work publicly at conferences and in articles, the people analytics teams at companies like Microsoft, Shell, ABN AMRO, and in fact, IBM, where I used to work, it really helped them. It helped firstly create momentum for the wider field of people analytics. And if there's momentum in the field, it helps individual practitioners and organizations. But also, perhaps more importantly, from a people analytics team or organization perspective, it created more traction for an awareness about people analytics in their own organizations as well. And they also acted as a talent magnet, or acts as a talent magnet for talented people analytics professionals looking for their next role. So really, if you're in an organization, obviously you're not sharing sensitive data, you're not sharing data about individuals, but at conference you're sharing about the challenges that you were trying to solve, what you found and what you implemented and what the impact was. You can really create momentum for your own people analytics function, but you can actually help the field as well. And then the second perspective, I guess, is around technology and consulting firms, is in your example there. The people analytics market, and in fact, the wider HR technology market in countries like the US or in regions like Europe, they wouldn't be where they are today without these firms coming together at conferences like this to show what they can do. A crowd attracts a crowd, and these types of conferences benefit the practitioners who attend, the companies who exhibit, and the wider field that they serve by generating awareness, interest, and ultimately market growth. And that benefits everyone. Yeah,
that's right. I couldn't agree with you more. Yes, today, for instance, we have ACG and Cloudsom, Genesis Lab, Hugh Station, Soma, and many others. Collaborating with these companies hold enormous potential to expand the people analytics market. Building on this, I'd like to delve deeper into the realm of people analytics technology solution providers. The global landscape is witnessing a surge in companies offering people analytics solutions. In your opinion, what distinguishes successful companies that adopt and utilize people analytics through HR tech solution partnerships from those that do not?
Yeah, again, Jin, you've highlighted a really important point. The People Analytics Trends report that I referenced earlier, which is going to be published on 1st of November in 2 days. It highlighted, for example, that 70% of the 271 companies that participated increased investment in analytics dashboards and our specialist people analytics technology over the last 12 months. There's a lot of investment going on in this space. In our experience, and we talk about this a little bit in the technology chapter in the book, six factors that distinguish successful companies when it comes to how they approach technology partnerships. Number one, they're very clear with the business challenges that they're trying to solve with technology. Two, they keep abreast of the market and they build a good network of peers, both in other organizations, but also in the technology firms themselves. So they almost have a short list of providers in mind by category. Thirdly, they partner effectively with their procurement team and technology function to actually bring to work with some of these technology firms. Four, they understand the compatibility of any potential product with the countries that their company operates in, plus factors linked to legal, privacy, data access, and wider technology strategy of the company. Five, they look for real partnership in technology vendors, including the ability to do pilots, to get support with implementation, and also an opportunity to maybe influence the product roadmap as well. And then finally, six, they combine technology implementation with effective training, communication, and change management. This is not just about implementing technology. It's about rolling it out with effective communication, thinking about the change that might make to processes, and actually helping the people that are going to be using this technology to upskill where necessary as well.
Indeed. Thank you, David. I think for the audience, the benefits of technology partnerships are much clearer now. When it comes to people analytics tech solutions, I believe it's crucial to secure support from management and ensure they fully appreciate its importance. What advice would you offer to current or potential or prospective managers and leaders, especially those making decisions about people analytics?
Yeah, I think the main thing is don't just look at people analytics as reporting. We say this to senior leaders looking to invest more in this. Look at people analytics as a tool to help you make more informed and better decisions about people, and that these decisions actually help generate better outcomes for the business, for the team, for individuals, and for you as a leader as well. And to use people analytics effectively, be clear on what questions that you want to answer using people analytics, the hypothesis that you'd like to test, and the outcomes that you want to impact. I'd also advise paying attention to how you will measure success. So when we were at IBM, we would sit down with the finance team before we even started people analytics work to understand how we were going to measure the impact of any solution that would be implemented. Think of people analytics in the following sequence. Get your business question right, do the analytics to get the insights, then develop the recommendations and actions, take action, and measure the outcome.
Yes, question, analysis and insight, action and outcome. Then again and again, we need a virtuous cycle of this process, I think. For people analytics to truly demonstrate its value, it needs to align with the business outcomes. And this echoes the core message of your book, emphasizing the importance of initiating people analytics with a clear business program definition. From this perspective, could you introduce the 9-dimensional strategy for successful people analytics as outlined in your book?
Yeah, we talked about a little bit about the book earlier and the case studies and everything, but when we were doing the research for the book, it confirmed the hypothesis that Jonathan and I had, that success in people analytics wasn't about maturity, certainly not in how it has traditionally been represented in people analytics. Instead, we found that successful companies, people analytics consists of a series of activities, skills, technologies, and processes that deliver value together. That leading organizations are simultaneously developing excellence across 9 dimensions. It's not sequential. You don't need to do them in particular order, which is why we designed it as a circle. The 9 dimensions are organized into 3 categories: foundation, resources, and value. So if we take foundation, the first dimension is governance, so a clear purpose, vision, and brand for people analytics, strong focus on ethics and privacy, and a sound approach to data governance and stewardship. The second dimension is a solid methodology. Start with the business problem and not the data. Identify business sponsors for each major piece of work. Strong prioritization and an onus on turning insights into outcomes. Third dimension, probably the most important one in many respects, is stakeholder management. So develop effective relationships with all stakeholders, not just HR, particularly business leaders, employees, and managers, but also functions like finance, IT, and enterprise analytics. The second category is resources. This is where the next 3 dimensions come in. So dimension 4 is skills, having a balanced and skilled people analytics team with an able and dynamic leader. The 5th dimension is technology. So having the right technology in place to help you scale and to democratize data so you can get insights into the hands of decision makers and free up the people analytics team for advanced analytics work. The 6th dimension is data. You can't do people analytics without any data. It's the fuel, and having well-managed and high-quality data is important. And then the final category is value. So ultimately, people analytics, should be about creating value. This can be in the form of workforce experiences, the 7th dimension for employees, managers, and leaders. And then the 8th dimension, business outcomes, including but not limited to financial return. And then to wrap this all together and create sustainable value on a consistent and long-term basis, you need the 9th dimension, which is culture. You need to create that data-driven culture, both from an expectation from the business and demand, but also critically by developing data literacy skills and capabilities across HR. So that's the 9 dimensions, Jin.
Great. Unfortunately, it looks like we need to wrap up this session. But before we do that, let's touch briefly on the future of people analytics. It's evident that the maturity level of people analytics has been on the rise. Moreover, advanced technologies like the recently released generative AI seem to further promote the prominence of people analytics. However, ethical concerns and data breaches continue to be remaining sensitive issues. How do you envisage the future of people analytics, and especially in light of these developments?
Yeah, the good question again, Jin, because it's a field that's changing fast. We looked at the future of people analytics in the epilogue of excellence in people analytics, and we identified 4 areas that we believe will drive the continued growth of the field. I think those 4 still stand, but I think there's another one that's probably emerged since we published the book. So the 4 in the book, firstly, the human experience at work. So essentially, this is the next step in employee experience. It's scaling it. It's using analytics to develop personalized programs and tools across the enterprise. The second one is what we call the CEO skills conundrum. And we're seeing this shift from a focus on jobs to a focus on skills, meaning that we can bring skills, learning and careers and plus workforce planning together, with skills data being the enabler of all of those. And we're seeing that in technology firms. We're seeing that in companies around the world that are shifting towards skills. The next one, the third one, is around investor demand. So we're seeing more and more demand from investors for human capital data. And this is leading to regulators all across the world, but 2 examples, the Securities and Exchange Commission in the US and the European Union, mandating the disclosure by organizations of human capital data. This is it's quite early in this at the moment, but it's a great opportunity for companies and for people analytics teams. The 4th area is around improving society. So this essentially means looking to have a positive impact outside the organizations in terms of areas such as diversity, equity, and inclusion in the communities that we serve as companies. But we're also starting to see it touch into areas such as corporate sustainability and climate as well. And then the 5th one I would add that really we're seeing this, and this talks to your point about generative AI a little bit, Jin, is the future of work, workforce, and workplace. I think it's been prompted first by the shift towards hybrid work, which we're seeing leveling out around just over 2 days a week in most companies around the world now. And second, the rapid technological advances that generative AI has only quickened. So that's bringing a lot of challenges for organizations in understanding, how they can make sure that their organization's going to be successful, not just now, but in the next few years as well. And people analytics is playing a leading role in helping them to do that.
All right. Thanks so much. Thank you very much, David. Is there any message you'd like to leave for the audience today?
Well, the first one, Jin, is a big thank you to you for inviting me to speak with you today, and obviously to the Korean people analytics community. And my message to those watching is congratulations. You are in one of the fastest growing and most important areas of business. Your work can not only make a difference to the success of your company, but it can also help the employees within your organization and help make our companies better, healthier, and more inclusive places to work. I hope you're enjoying being part of the first People Analytics conference in Korea, and I look forward to hearing about the progress of the field in the country in the coming months and years. And Jin, I'll definitely be asking you more about that. And if anyone wants to connect with me, please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, and you can find out more about the work that we do at Insight222 by going to insight222.com. Jin, I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you. In this session, David and I have had a comprehensive discussion on people analytics trends, case studies, and considerations specific to the Korean landscape. I hope this provided valuable insights for all of the audience today. Thank you.